Hi nerds, Merry Christmas. Welcome back to another Nerdy Girls Talk. Sorry for the very long delay in between videos, but I'm really excited to talk about this one. So today we are going to talk about Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Let me preface this how I preface all my videos. This video is going to contain spoilers for the movie. I give you guys 5 days to see it before I posted this video, so hopefully you've already seen it. If not, save the video, click out, come back and see this video once you've seen the movie, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody. I hate spoilers. So, with that preface, let's just get started. Rise of Skywalker. I loved the movie. There were a couple of plot holes which people have made a huge big deal about, but I mean, you can't really expect it to be perfect. They did switch directors from the second to third, or the eighth to the ninth movie. J.J. Abrams came back and did the third one, and the final of this part of the saga, and the Skywalker Saga is now over. So there's going to be a couple things that were going to be different no matter what, because obviously J.J. Abrams is going to have a different view on how the Skywalker Saga should end. But we will talk about the plot holes. I will discuss those, as well as a couple other things. But, so going into Rise of Skywalker, it's, you know, the Resistance is pretty much gone. What's left of the Resistance fit into the Millennium Falcon at the end of Last Jedi. And I mean, the galaxy is losing its hope of, you know, ever getting rid of the New Order, and having a free galaxy once again. So, with the galaxy losing hope, you have Kylo Ren as the new Emperor, so to speak. Snoke is dead. Rey is trying to become a Jedi without her Jedi trainer. Luke is gone. And so, you know, there's a lot of confusion in these people's minds. Coming into the movies, Palpatine has broadcast a message across the galaxy, and so you come in when Kylo is searching for Palpatine. He wants to become master of the galaxy, so to speak. He wants to be the new emperor, and he finds him right there at the beginning of the movie, and with Palpatine's help, Kylo Ren is going to create the final order. And we also find out, once we see the Resistance again, we find out that there is a spy in the New Order, and they're giving information to the Resistance. The First Order, sorry, not the New Order. Finn and Chewie and Poe are on the Falcon, which every time I see the Falcon, my heart just beats a little bit faster, and I get so excited just to see it. Chewie's one of the last coming into this movie of the original Skywalker clan Resistance fighters. So that Leia and Chewie are the only two originals left coming into this movie. Luke is gone, Han is gone. But Leia, every time I see Carrie Fisher on the screen, I just tear up a little bit, because, you know, that was the princess that I looked up to growing up. So we come in and we see Rey, and she's working on her Jedi training with Leia as her, you know, Jedi master. So Leia is helping Rey train. They've fixed the lightsaber that broke in the Last Jedi. So Rey is trying to complete her Jedi training. When we go in, it gives me flashbacks to seeing Luke Skywalker trying to complete his training with Yoda. But it's a little different. because obviously Carrie Fisher wasn't there to be the Yoda to Rey, so they used a lot of scenes that had been shot with Carrie Fisher, and they kind of worked the dialogue around that in order to fit it into the movie. So Rey's kind of training a little different than Luke did, but she's trying to figure it out, the whole be with me thing, and she's floating in the air and the rocks surrounding her up in the air. It's just, I want to be a Jedi. It was really cool to see Rey finally kind of harnessing the force power that she has within her that she hasn't used yet. So it was really cool to see that. And then we go back to Kylo Ren, because where there is light, there's always dark. So Rey is, trying to channel the light side, whereas Kylo has fully embraced the dark side. And so we see that the Final Order has this huge fleet, the largest fleet that they've ever seen. And so they are searching for this planet Exegol, which is where the Sith Final Order is. When you see all of those ships pull up in the sky, it's just amazing how they do these things, but it's so cool to see, but it's like, at the same time, it's like, holy crap, there's no way, you go into this thinking, there's no way that they're gonna defeat the dark side. The dark side has way more people, the resistance is so small, but, you gotta have hope for the light side. They always have the hope is what really gets, that always helps the light side win. That's something that the dark side never has, is hope and love, and that's what always makes the light side the light side. So Rey is searching for this Sith Wayfinder in order to navigate to Exegol so that they can defeat the Final Order and defeat Palpatine and Kylo Ren. And one thing that Leia says when Rey sets off on her little quest is, never be afraid of who you are. And that's something I think that really Rey needed to hear, because she fights so hard trying to, ignore the dark side and just have the light side. But that's something that isn't all Jedis. They just have to learn how to master the light side and ignore the dark side. And Rey doesn't have that Jedi Master really to teach her how to find the balance. And when Leia said that to her, of course, I was in an area that I had to tear up during the movie, because it was just such a profound line to hear. But with this movie, it was really cool how they did it. You finally get to see the Knights of Ren, which you hear about, and you've gotten slight views of in The Force Awakens. You see like a flashback of the Knights of Ren, but you never get to actually see them. And so you actually get quite a look in this movie at the Knights of Ren, which is just, it's super cool to see these, these bad guys, as bad as it sounds. Like, it's cool to see them. And now that you finally get a look at them, it's really, J.J. Abrams did a fantastic job incorporating that in there. But at the same time, they work with Kylo Ren. They're not good guys. It's cool to see this dark side part of it, but Kylo Ren's goal is to turn Rey to the dark side, which, as I was saying, she's fought so hard to just follow the light, but she has this darkness inside of her that she wants to ignore, but it's something she also needs to address at the same time. But Kylo wants her to turn dark, and that's something Rey has really fought not to do. And I feel like she had the hardest time in this movie with fighting it, because you see that she's starting to remember things that she had forgotten, things about her parents, and stuff is starting to click, that it's connected somehow, and that darkness is kind of just welling up inside of her. She goes on this mission to find this Sith Wayfinder, but the closer she gets to it, the more the darkness kind of comes in, so to speak. Like, it just wells up to this point that it has to be let out eventually, which is what happens when Lando saves Rey and Finn and Poe and Chewie from the stormtroopers, and as the stormtroopers are chasing them, they get away. But when Rey comes out to really confront Kylo Ren, because even though Snoke said that, you know, their connection was all his doing, it wasn't. It was a connection that they already had. And so she knows he's coming. She goes out there to fight Kylo Ren, and finds out that Chewie is on a transport ship with the stormtroopers, and she's trying to use the Force to pull the ship back to the planet so that they can save Chewie from the stormtroopers. And you see the lightning shoot out of her fingers, and instantly it clicked in my head. I'm like, oh no, not this. The only other Force user we've ever seen have lightning shoot out of his fingers was Palpatine. And instantly, like, clicked in my mind, like, how Palpatine was gonna play into this movie, why we're hearing his voice. But I was like, my heart broke. Something that Kylo Ren was pushing to do the entire time. He wanted that ship to blow up. He wanted Rey to see the destructive power that she had in her and see that darkness come out, because he knew who her family was. He might have told her that her family was nothing, but he knew all along what her family actually was, that they chose to be nothing in order to hide her. When they take Chewie, they also get the dagger that is going to lead them to the Sith Wayfinder. So Rey goes in search of the dagger while Finn and Poe go to rescue Chewie, and you really see the connection between Rey and Kylo Ren. And when Rey has a little bit of a problem controlling that dark side when she's around Kylo, and she gets angry, so they're fighting, and she smashes the stand that the Darth Vader helmet was on, and that's how Kylo finds out where they're at. And this is also where we find out who the spy in the Resistance is, and it's General Hux. He helps them get off of the First Order ship, and we find out he doesn't care if the Resistance wins or not. He just doesn't want Kylo Ren in charge. And all I can think is, Bill Weasley, you need a howler from your mother. Like, you little snitch. So bad. But the knife that they need in order to find the Wayfinder is inscribed with the Sith language. And C-3PO can translate it in his mind, but he can't translate it out loud because he is forbidden from speaking Sith language. And so they need to find someone who can help them translate it, or, manually override that section of C-3PO's programming so that he can speak it. But in order to do that, we discover that C-3PO is going to lose his memory. And because he's going to lose his memory because by overriding that law, that rule in his system, it's going to completely wipe everything from his system. And so to see C-3PO really sacrifice himself and for the Resistance, it's really something that you don't normally see with C-3PO. He's very to the point. He's very much a he's very much a robot. He follows his rules, and that's how it is. So when they ask him what he's doing, he's, and he says, I'm just taking a moment to look at all of my friends. That was another part where I was like, I start crying in the theater. I was not sobbing. There was someone behind me that was definitely sobbing. Because, it's sad to see. It's the last one. So when he was sacrificing himself in order for them to find a way to stop the Final Order, it was very, very sad to see. Rey, like I said, really has a problem with this light side, dark side thing, and Kylo Ren brings out the worst of her. But she's been having these visions. Rey would really love to take Ben's hand and be with Ben, but she does not want to be on the throne with Kylo. That's just not part of Rey's plan, to stay on the light side. But with her exchange with Kylo, we find out that Rey's parents chose to be no one. He's previously told her that her parents were no one. They chose to be no one in order to keep her safe. And Palpatine had her parents taken. So when they left her on Jakku, they left her there in order to protect her and to hide her from Palpatine. And the dagger that C-3PO translates leads them to the wreckage of the Death Star, which is where we find out the Sith Wayfinder is hidden. The island that they land, that the stormtrooper, the island that the Death Star lands on is full of people just like Finn, who were stormtroopers. They were taken as children, and they defected. And all of these defected stormtroopers were part of the same brigade that was told to fire upon civilians, and they all laid their guns down and they hijacked a First Order ship and took off. So they and they've been living on this island, and they say that they'll take Rey to the Death Star the next day when the tide is lower. But they don't have till the next day. At this point, they have like 8 hours before the Final Order attacks and starts firing upon planets. So Rey takes it into her own hands. She takes a skipper over to get this Sith Wayfinder so that they can find Exegol. When she gets over there, she has this vision of herself as a Sith, and she fights herself. When she comes out of that vision, there's Kylo Ren once again. He seems to always be there. Where she fights him. She begins to fight him because he wants her to be on the dark side. She doesn't want to be on the dark side. And so he crushes the Sith Wayfinder and says the only way that she's going to Exegol is with him. They fight, and she stabs him with her lightsaber. And Leia uses the last of her life to contact Ben. Not Kylo, but Ben. Leia and Ben both feel... Rey and Ben both feel Leia's death, and so Rey heals him and tells him that she would have taken his hand, but not Kylo's. And she takes off in his TIE fighter. Go Rey. And she goes back to the Jedi temples that Luke was at and plans to spend the rest of her days there so that she does not become a Sith. And Ben becomes light again with the help of his father, who he sees in a memory after he finds out that his mother is dead. Han helps him come back to the light side, and he throws his lightsaber into the water. It's fantastic. And then we see Rey back on the island, and Luke appears as a Force ghost, which I was really hoping would happen, because you can't just kill off Luke Skywalker and not have him come back as a Force ghost. And he talks with Rey and lets her know that he knew, and Leia knew, that she was a Palpatine this entire time. They felt it. And he gives Rey Leia's lightsaber. And she finds out that there's a Sith Wayfinder in the TIE fighter that she blew up when she landed on the island, but the Wayfinder survived. She takes Luke's X-Wing, and it rises up out of the water as Luke uses the Force to raise it. And all I can think back is to him and Yoda doing the same thing. And so she takes Leia's saber and his ship and takes off for Exegol so that she can defeat Palpatine. While she's fighting Palpatine, Poe and Finn and Rose Tico and all of the defected stormtroopers are, trying to take down the system that links all of these Final Order ships together. They can't navigate if their navigation is down on the navigation tower, so they take out the tower, but they've routed the navigation system to one of the ships, so then they have to go after the ship. And, they're losing hope. They're losing Resistance fighters left and right. You see Greg Grunberg's character die, and I just about cried because I love him, and I've loved him in his role in these movies. And you're starting to lose hope, and Rey is trying to figure out how she can kill Palpatine, but if she kills Palpatine, his spirit will go into her, and she'll become a Sith, and he'll rule through her, and she doesn't want that to happen. So she's about ready to give up, and Ben comes and he fights the Knights of Ren, and with their Force connection, she hands the lightsaber over to him. He kills off the Knights of Ren and comes running, and they're both ready there to fight side by side to kill Palpatine and stop this whole Sith Final Order from happening, as they're being watched by all these Sith lords like it's a freaking Olympic stadium or something. So they're fighting, and then the Resistance fighters are fighting out there. Lando and Chewie had taken the Falcon to go spread the word that they need everybody that they can get, because there's more of them than there is of the Final Order. And just as you're losing hope, here comes Lando and Chewie and everyone that owns a ship in the galaxy. Everybody had come to help. And you see Palpatine throw Ben, and Ben goes down this hole, and then it's just Rey versus Palpatine, her grandfather. And she uses the Force in order to destroy him. Like, she doesn't physically kill him herself, so it doesn't come into her. And this is after Palpatine had taken life force from both Ben and Rey to restore himself. So she was already weak as it was, and she destroys Palpatine. They take down the Final Order ships, and Rey essentially gives her life fighting Palpatine. As soon as he's dead, she turns around and drops to the floor completely lifeless. And here comes Ben crawling out of that hole that Palpatine sent him flying down. You think he's gone, and of course he keeps coming back like a cockroach. And Ben heals Rey, brings her back to life, and they share the cheesy kiss because it's Star Wars and it has to be a little cheesy, and then he's gone. And when he goes, his body disappears, and Leia's body disappears. Leia had been dead, but her body was still there. And when Ben's body dissolves into the Force. So does Leia's. Whew, getting choked up just thinking about it. And so what you have left is Rey, the Last Jedi. She's got both Luke and Leia's lightsabers. She's defeated Palpatine, the Final Order, the First Order, the Siths. They are all gone. And so Rey takes Luke and Leia's lightsabers back to the Skywalker home and buries them there. And so in the second movie, you see this kid at the end that uses the Force, and so you think they're going to address more possible kids, Padawans, turning into, getting Jedi training eventually. And while we see this kid with the Force at the end of The Last Jedi, they don't address it at all in the third movie. So I'm hoping maybe they address it in the future in a TV show or a standalone movie. Another thing that I did have an issue with is Rose Tico has this huge part in the second movie. And she is only in the third for like 5 minutes. So they really did not do her character justice. And so I will give the people who are, getting upset about that their due process here, because you can't take a character that's got this huge role in the second movie and then just completely ignore them in the third. So Rose definitely deserved more screen time because her character was so huge. And then they made her character so insignificant in the third. So while there are issues, small ones, with the movie, it's not enough for me to dislike it. I really, really enjoyed the movie. I think they closed it out in a way that it's really the only way that it could have been closed out, with the end of the Skywalker Saga. So people, when you go and watch this movie again, when you watch it, just really keep in mind that you're here to be entertained. You are not the director, you are not the writer. You don't know what their thought process was, but they closed it out in such a fantastic way. They did Leia so much justice, and they really put their hearts and souls into finishing off this saga in a way that it could not have been ended in any other way. So really just keep that in mind when you watch this movie. There's been so many critics criticizing this movie, but it's really a fantastic movie. Go into it with an open mind. Enjoy it as much as I did. It's absolutely fantastic. Thank you for coming to my table talk, and can't wait for the next video. Let me know what you think of Star Wars Rise of Skywalker. Did you enjoy it? What were your favorite parts? Let's not bash it. J.J. Abrams did a fantastic job. All of the actors did a fantastic job. And I can't wait to see what is next in the Star Wars universe. Mandalorian comes out in 2 days, the final episode, and I want to see more Baby Yoda. Ending it there. Thank you for watching, nerds. I'll see you guys next time. Subscribe, follow, like this video, share this video. Tell me what you think. I absolutely loved the movie. What did you think?